Peace, y'all. What's good, man? This is Reno Noir once again with some more hip hop and comic book knowledge. On this episode, I want to break down some hip hop lyrics with comic book references, all the way back from Public Enemy, Run DMC, Wu-Tang, up till today's rap. And a lot of these that I want to go through today are going to be the more familiar stuff. So, Marvel cinematic stuff like that, the stuff from the movies that you'd be, more familiar with. For number one, and this is in no particular order, we have Public Enemy's Raise the Roof, in where they said, from the slammer swing a hammer, like the mighty Thor, god of thunder, you'll go under, then you'll all applaud. And fathom that distance, the mad must meet Namor, Sea Lord, Prince of the Deep. This is pretty straightforward. You know who Thor is. Namor is sort of Marvel's Aquaman. You might be more familiar with, but he's the underwater superhero. But these two guys, they're very arrogant heroes. Two of the biggest egos in Marvel, and of course that goes right along with the Yo Bum Rush the Show album, because PE at the time, they still had something to prove. Chuck D also has a background in graphic design, so he created the iconic logo that you see on their album covers. After his father passed away, Chuck D wrote a tribute wherein he repeatedly referred to his pops as his own Superman. Definitely an old school comic fan. And then we have Problems by T.I. featuring B.O.B. and Trey the Truth, where he says, no lie on this mic, chilling with habitual whores, hit her with the hammer like Thor, taken from volume 1 of the GDOD, Get Dough or Die mixtape series. There's a lot of Thor references so far, which, goes with hip hop because, the gods, and Thor is like a god, so you'll definitely see a lot of that. But you'll also see another very common thread in hip hop and comics, which will be Xmen, and we'll see a lot of those here in a second. Then you have what else? We got Childish Gambino's Not Going Back, where he says, couldn't see me as SpiderMan, but now I'm spitting venom. Now you paying attention? Pick your fucking face up. When I want to be a superhero, I just wake up. He sort of had a tangled history with Spider-Man because he wanted to actually play Spider-Man back in 2010. I think he sort of lobbied to play Miles Morales. But he did end up actually playing that character, which was going to become the Prowler, which is Miles Morales' his uncle. So he actually has written a script for a Deadpool cartoon, which would be amazing. I'm not sure if, I think FX canceled that. So that was a tragic loss. I was really waiting to see that. That would have been dope. Of course, MF Doom, one of the most comic-related MCs out there, no question. Because of course, Dr. Doom is a major villain in Marvel Comics. So he's got a song called Con Queso. He says, Doom, in love with Mary Jane, she's my main thing. Pulled her right from that web head, what a lame brain. So of course he's talking about Spider-Man there, and Mary Jane, Spider-Man's love interest in some of the comics, or after Gwen Stacy, his original love interest. Let's see, we got Method Man and Redman, Big Dogs, where it says Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider, Ghost Stories by the Campfire. Of course, he's talking about Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, which you probably know Method Man's alter ego is Johnny Blaze. The Method Man apparently has over 30,000 comics, which you may have seen in my earlier video. Is a lot of comics. 30,000 comics is, some comic stores don't have that many comics. Then we have from Black Hippie, UOENO, and this is of course a more contemporary thing, but this is where we start to get into a lot of the X-Men references, which is going to be rampant through hip-hop, because the X-Men are sort of a allegory or metaphor for the history of black civil rights in this country. So you have Professor X, which ironically is modeled after Martin Luther King. And then you have Magneto, which is modeled after Malcolm X. And Magneto is not a villain, He just believes that mutants should have their own sort of country that's separate from humans. And of course, Professor X, like Martin Luther King, believes in the integration of the humans and the mutants. Of course, Magneto, like Malcolm X in his early days of working with the NOI, believed that there can be no living together, with mutants and humans. It would never work. So they often butt heads, and they have their own crews. Professor X has the Xmen, Magneto has the Brotherhood, and he actually teams up with Professor X. Currently, right now in Marvel Comics, you have Magneto and Professor X are the best of friends, and they run the new mutant nation of Krakoa, which we'll get into later. Our next lyric is from QTip on Dance on Glass. The Luke Cage of the loose leaf page, run and hide, coming out in the yard, bona fide to be hard. So of course he's talking about, Luke Cage, Power Man, strength, and, just being hard. Just Ali Shaheed Muhammad from the Tribe Called Quest signed on as the music supervisor for the Luke Cage Netflix show in 2016. And then there's the classic Tribe Cut Lyrics to Go, where Q-Tip compares himself to Kato, the Green Hornet sidekick, who was once played by the legendary Bruce Lee, the god. Our next song is from Last Emperor. It's called Secret Wars Part 1. The title alone is based on a huge comic arc in Marvel called The Secret Wars. And he really does a whole song. So it's hard to kind of pick a lyric out of this one, because the entire song is just about MCs and superheroes battling. So he says something like KRS and Professor X battle each other mentally with rhymes. These two team captains waste no time. Charles Xavier tried to invade Chris Parker's mind. He shot a cerebral probe at Chris's mind, but he missed it. Professor X taken out by the Blast Master's metaphysics. So that's a battle between, of course, KRS-One and Professor X. And all of them, the MCs, of course, win in the battle, which is cool. From this track, it's hard to take just one line out, because the entire song is about Marvel characters battling famous MCs. So in a way, this track sort of sums up the whole connection between hip-hop and comic books.